So you're sitting there and your hamstrings are getting tight. Well, they need to be stretched because that's going to cut down on your quality of life. Because then you're going to have a hinge in your hips because it's pulling your hips down, and that's not allowing your back to be in alignment. Welcome back to Uncivilized Rebirth. Have you ever found that something is just missing in your life? Something just won't go right? What if that thing that you're missing in your life is your body going right? Imagine every day you waking up and you could complete almost any physical task that you wanted to complete. You didn't have any aches or pains, and you don't get sick anymore. Imagine that. It's like, then there would be this huge void in your life that would be filled. You would just feel completed. You'd be like, oh wow, like I don't always have to be worrying about aches and pains and when I'm going to get sick, taking this medicine and having all this fear around the next time, I might get sick, or I get this, my nose starts running. I'll run to the store and buy all this stuff. Like, come on, like, is that necessary? Well, in my humble opinion, it is not necessary, because our body is composed of many different systems, and we forget to focus on these systems. You have a skeletal system, you have a muscular system, you have your pulmonary system, you have your system for getting out waste, and then also that's for solids and for fluids. You have a system that pulls out the minerals and the building blocks. It's like a sensor going on. It senses what's in the belly and it's going into the intestines to pull out those nutrients. And if those sensors are not working properly, it's going to be hard to find what nutrients to pull out. And then check this out. If the proper nutrients aren't going through that system and being registered and pulled out, the systems that are used to pull those good minerals out or vitamins out, whatever the body needs in this system, well then guess what? That system is not going to work nearly as efficient as it could if it was doing its job with the proper environment at full capacity. Because it's designed to do one thing, and that's what it does. But if it's not fed properly, because think about this, the system that extracts the vitamins grows itself. There's a system set up to fix that system and to repair it and build it and to bring in nutrients, because it's like a tissue type construction organ, that's pulling this stuff out. It has to be built and maintained. So when you start focusing on your body, focusing in, you're like, oh my gosh, there's so much going on there. Well, yeah, there is. Because this is one of the finest machines in the universe. There's a heck of a lot going on. It's the ultimate creation machine. You put an idea in the brain, and this thing will figure out how to make it without any instructions. Holy crap. Why not take care of this thing? So if you're in a paint shop and you have your finest airbrush, would you just throw it around and put the crappiest paint through it and just like beat it up, not care for it, take a hammer to try to, realign the end to spray right? No, man, you're going to take really good care of that sprayer that you like. So basically, I'm going to get back on track here. The body, the better it functions, the better output it can have. So let's take a step back. The body repairs itself and it replaces itself. So every certain amount of time, every single cell, molecule, or whatever you want to call it, building block in the body has been replaced. The skin is always having dead skin cells fall off, being replaced. Your fingernails are always growing, you're clipping them off. It's just growing and growing and growing. It's just very interesting that it's like, you know how trees pull their nutrients from the ground and they grow? Well, we pull our nutrients in through a mouth, so it's like a backwards route, basically, if you think about it that way. We have a backwards route inside of us. That's what the lungs look like. And that's basically, if you think about it, like where the nutrients are absorbed. That's like where it's pulling the nutrients. So we are always growing. And if we are growing on such a massive scale, because the smaller you think, the bigger the body is. So imagine you're the size of your toe and you're looking at your toenail, and then you look up and you see now it's not you two persons. You're looking at another human, and it's you, the height of a toe, standing there looking up at this giant human. So think about that in your mind. Okay. Now you just realize how giant a human can be based on perspective. So if you perceive down to like a molecular level of a white blood cell going through your blood veins, then all of a sudden you realize what a huge system this is. And guess what? It takes a lot of mindfulness and effort consistently to build the systems to put those in place for this thing to maintain, as long as these disciplines are maintained. And so one of those disciplines is stretching. It's very important with this body to stretch. The abdominal muscles need to stretch and work. The lower back muscles need to stretch and work. Your quads and hamstrings, the calves need to be stretched. You need to roll out biceps and triceps, roll out the back, all in the chest area, the shoulders, and stretch them really good, because these muscles get really tense, or they'll sit in one position for a long time. And that's the way our human race is going right now. It's like, not everybody does that. Like, some people are working and laboring, and it's very important for them to feed their body properly as well and stretch. But also, you'll see where I'm going with this. So you're sitting there and your hamstrings are getting tight. Well, they need to be stretched, because that's going to cut down on your quality of life. Because then you're going to have a hinge in your hips, because it's pulling your hips down, and that's not allowing your back to be in alignment. And so now something's out of alignment. And if your spine is out of alignment, your life is probably going to be out of alignment. Let me tell you what I mean by that. So imagine every time you lean over and grab the bag of laundry, it hurts your lower back every time, and you dread it and you put that off. Well, now there's just like a little get up in your life of like something you avoid due to your physicality not being maintained at its highest ability to perform. And picking up a clothes baskets. Like, I've been there where like picking up a car seat hurt miserably, but I was just getting out of the hospital from being in a wheelchair with a rare disease. And so it's like, yeah, that hurts, but I have to get to a point one day where that doesn't hurt and figure out why it hurts. So in my analysis of the inside of the body, I got to this one point. I might sneeze in a minute. I do apologize. I got to this point where my lower back, I knew what was wrong with it mechanically. But there was other things I wanted to do physically to figure out how to do that. It's like, well, this limiter, what do I need to do to get past it? So there is a disc between the vertebrae that's bulging out on the sciatic nerve root, and it hurts like crazy. So I got to thinking, if I strengthen that muscle so much, if I'm like stretching where I'm taking that pressure off where the disc goes back in between the vertebrae, and I'm training my muscles to be so tense and taut that it won't allow that disc to be pushed out. And then also find out what muscles do I have to develop and strengthen, so instead of these muscles taking the full weight, like I put all the support in the core potentially, while I've developed these muscles to push this disc back in. And I thought about that. I was like, that makes sense. I'm going to try that. So I started working my plan for that. And it was a specific plan because I was thinking internally of like how to repair and get around damage. So lo and behold, a couple of years later, I'm really not in a lot of pain and I'm still getting around. I had atrophied abdominal muscles due to brain injury from a disease. And so these abdominal muscles just didn't work because the spot in the brain where the signal goes out to have these turn on had been like killed basically by disease. And so I had to work around that. And it's like, okay, how do I get these muscles turned back on? Because the muscles work, it's just the origination of the signal is not happening. Basically, the road sign was gone. It's like, I can think about it, want it as much as I want, but it won't turn on. So I was like, well, what if I can mechanically force the body to turn it on another way? I was like, well, okay. So I got on a roller and did like a reverse bridge on a roller with my shoulders. And I would hold that until my back muscles were just screaming and going to give out. But what I chose to do was to hold this and demand that my body hold this position no matter what. And then I would start feeling blood fill up this kind of pocket in the abdominal muscles, like a swooshing sound. And I could feel it and I could start tightening and tightening. But I couldn't actually make it turn on, but it was turning on itself and filling up with blood. It was diverting the blood from the lower back that was being used and filling up the abdominal muscles. And because also in 2022, I had a tear in my abdominal wall and I had some abdominal stuff and I poked it back in. I had to go to the ER, but I was okay. So that was part of the things from when my abdominal muscles were atrophied. It was easier for that stuff to poke out and stuff. It was painful, but I was like, I got to get through this. I was like, okay, the body repairs itself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold my core tight as I can during this period of time and push that where that tear was together. And if I feel that stuff going out, I'll poke it back in and I'll just tighten it. Because I've seen where a collarbone breaks and it fixed itself. The body fixed it. So I'm about to stop talking about this, but I held that and guess what? Lo and behold, it repaired itself. The body is amazing. So I'm going to wrap this up actually. Let me leave you with this. If you're in a machine that can repair itself and that can do amazing feats and that can just produce and do almost anything, it honestly would make sense to stretch it regularly, the muscular systems. And when I say that muscular systems, it's I think of the hamstring and quad. It's its own area, and even the quad has different parts of that muscle. Same with the biceps. But stretching, exercising lightly, drinking really good water. And when I say that, it's water without chemicals in it because our body has to process that stuff. And here's a point, too, to think about. If your body recognizes one of those chemicals as something it may not need, or it's I recognize this chemical, but I don't know where to put it. So I just got to put it over here somewhere. Well, that's what you're doing to your body. You're putting all this extra stuff in there that it's having to figure out what to do with. It's from fast food stuff too, and tons of microwave food. So if you're getting vitamins and minerals, proper nutrients and protein for building, and then vegetables as well, and plenty of clean water, that there is always feeding the machine to grow and repair properly. And you can do that with the brain as well by focusing on the nutrients that the brain uses to build and grow. And that's new neural pathways and everything. So the systems are in the brain. The systems, and of course, there's a whole bunch I have not named because I need to give myself a refresher on some of them. But what I'm saying is the body repairs itself. And when you feed it properly and actually pay attention to the systems, then you're going to have a higher quality of life. And on the shorts on this channel, I show just kind of what I do for exercises and training. And I regularly stretch. I get on a roller. That helps with the back a lot. People that have back cramps. I'll tell you what, if you get on a foam roller and you lay on it on your back and lay on right where the cramp is, and you hold that, and then you tighten your core, but not for like 30 seconds or a minute. Like, you roll off of that knot when it's hurting to a spot that's not hurting so bad, and then when you're ready, roll back to it. But you hold it as long as you can. And while you're in the pain of it, when your roller is right on that knot and it's just really, really screaming, you know how it is. Like, you divert your focus from that knot and you think about your abdominal muscles and tightening them. What you're going to be doing is you're going to be basically using the pump system in your body to move blood from that area where that cramp is, because there's a signal saying activate, 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 activate constantly. So all this energy is being sent to this one spot just to keep going. And it's like, well, when you're tightening your core, it uses energy to activate those and run those systems, and then those systems are bringing in the blood to those muscles. And where it's going to get that blood it needs to inflate these muscles a little more is it'll pull it down there from that back muscle, and you'll feel it go eventually. It's just like, oh, that where that spasm is, and it's horrifically painful. But here's what happens over a period of time when you do this by yourself. Your body just gets used to, oh, this is what's going to happen when a cramp happens. So then your abdominals have been growing stronger, and you just all of a sudden tighten your core to give yourself support, and you can get rid of that cramp on your own. So there's like and loose hamstrings. Anyway, the human body is phenomenal, and it's very important that we take care of it the best we can. I'm going to have another video about the human body, because I think I could go on just a whole lot of rabbit trails about stuff I've learned about it and how to repair it. Okay, hey, you know what? I want to encourage you to drink water, take vitamins, eat vegetables, and stop eating out. Because I think if everybody was running around healthy, a lot of people would be a lot happier, and we would have a lot less grumpiness going on, honestly. Because imagine how many people are pissed off just because, like, they got a hitch in their knee, you know, and it just is miserable, but they got to put on this fake face. Well, let's get rid of that hitch in your knee, and, you know, it's like make your life more comfortable from the inside. All right, I'm done.